Like I was saying, it's between you two, not me.
ただ
And honestly, I much prefer the moon than the sun, so. A self-deriding smile appeared on Mitsuki's lips.
馬鹿げているわよね。私のやったことはむしろ低い方へと流れていくことだったのに。もちろんお姉様、マリカ様には元から憧れがあったわ。でもそれだけではなかったこと。私はむしろ積極的にシェフ・ド・コールを自称して、それがヒエラルキーを登ることだと信じて。ラルムド・リュヌの方が素敵だった。それはええ、私も途中からそう思うようになったわ。でも今更引き返せない。
You don't need to take it back. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Since I already done it, though, I decided to continue. Whether it's Mariko or anyone else, I think it's good to have friends, so why not leave that as it is? Just do your best you can for your association, Mitsuki. You've given the leadership over to Risco, but you can work hard to support her. She's clearly nervous about being a first-year student serving as a society leader. Just have a fair fight between associations, and I think that would be a way for your friendship to be equal, like you said before. Mitsuki blinked rapidly several times as she listened to me. Then she burst out laughing. I guess it was a weird thing to say. I tilted my head in confusion. Huh? I guess so, but you can't have a fair fight alone. You need an opponent. Sure, but no matter what happens, I think it's always better to enjoy school, Mitsuki. My life at school last year was really boring, so I believe that from the bottom of my heart. So if you are enjoying your time at school right now, I think we should change that. Yeah. A smile appeared on Mitsuki's lips. Then she fixed me with a serious gaze. Mitsuki folded her arms and thought for a time. That's the thing. There's a difference between boys and a certain person. Only one person. Even with this depressing music and seriousness of the situation, I can't stop the smile. I wish I had a green screen behind me. That way it'll make this work look more better. That way I can put myself in the corner. And the bottom corner, not the upper. thought she might be in the bathroom, so we waited several minutes after knocking, but there was no response.
いらっしゃらないのかしら。
And how did the guardian do not notice that I got out of the room and to the door? Isiki placed her hand on the knob in confusion.
開いてるわ。お姉様、入りますよ。
She announced herself as she entered. I waited alone in the hallway. The others returned shortly. She wasn't there?
レクリエーションルームかしら。行ってみましょう。
It was another miss. We decided to check the bath just to be safe, but Marika wasn't there either. Where could she be at this hour? For the rest of the world, the night was still young. However, at Vesnes, things were different. Classes and club activities were over. There was no reason to leave the dorms. Unless you're like part of a sky dazing club or something like where you can watch the stars.
なんだか心配だわ。
Itsuki's expression stiffened.
お姉様も悩んでいたようなの。当然よね。人を貶めるような真似ができる方ではないもの。だから私も心の半分では真実を認めてしまうべきなんじゃないかって思っていたんだけど、両親の呵責に耐えかねていたわけね。そう、お姉様は何事においても正しい人だから。正しい人。そうね。何か胸騒ぎがする。ねえ、手分けして探しましょう。ええ。
Got it. I started to run. We left the path, joined the school door, joined the dorms to the school area, and split up. Heavy rain began to fall as we ran in search of Marika. But I kept running definitely. My body was soaked through in an instant. It was cold too. Where could Marika be? I didn't want to think of her outside in a weather like this. That voice. Was it from the clock tower? I ran toward, anxiety swelling inside me. That was no ordinary scream. When I arrived, a cry leapt from my own throat. With her eyes dead as a fish. Words of desperation. I heard footsteps approaching from behind, and a moment later I was being pulled by the arm.
美月さん、マサヤさん、何をボサッとしてるの。行くわよ。
Right. We bolted for the clock tower. The ground had turned spongy, and our progress was madly slow. It's like running on a trampoline. My eyes placed her hand on the entrance to the clock tower. I was seized in the grip of fear. I felt that any moment I was going to hear a thump or a splash sound behind me. The door opened with a heavy sound. Assaulted by a terrible sense of foreboding, I shut my eyes tight. Premier judgment. I can't hold. Even though, okay. Serious. My sense of foreboding eased as we entered the tower. So this is what it's like in here. Faint light streaming through the windows, making it look like the set of a shadow play. The windows were large enough that I could make out the shape of the window. It was empty, with a staircase running along the wall. Isiki whispered a prayer as we ran our race against time. Our footsteps pounded heavily on the iron stairs. There's no railing where Marika is there? If she fell from that height, she wouldn't survive. Why isn't there a railing? I groaned in frustration.
一つは警官のためだわ。
Scenic purposes again. That was also the reason there was no guardian station right by the school gate.
あとはうちの生徒があんなところに出入
It was strange how business could be so strict in some ways and so lenient in others. The fact that I was here was another example. Here I was under house arrest, though they kept a close watch on my door. My veranda went unwatched. On one hand, it was good that they trusted the students. On the other hand, they really underestimated them sometimes.
変ね。さすがに門に鍵はかかっているはずなのに。マリカ様ならそれっぽい理由をつければ簡単に借りられたはずだわ。それもそうね。お姉様。お姉様。
Isiki, don't start crying just yet. It's bad luck.
そういうことじゃないわ。
What?
どうして私止めてあげられなかったんだろうって。それが悔しくて。お姉様が悩んで苦しんでいたのはそばにいた私が一番よく知っているわ。私がそれは間違いですって言わなければならない。なのに私のしたことときたらただダクダクと従うばかりで辛さを分かち合おうともせず。本当何が親衛隊長よ。美月さん、いずれにしろまだ泣くのは早いわ。マリカ様にはきっと支えが必要だもの。その時あなたがそんな弱気では。そうね。
Isiki briefly wiped her tears away and hardened her expression.
シェフドコールの一命に恥じない働きをしてみせるわ。この一命だって自分にとって決して嫌なものではなかったのだから。
We were all out of breath by the time we reached the summit.
じゃあ開けるわよ。
Our eyes opened the door. The heavily padlocked that fastened it had been removed. When we saw Marika beyond, I breathed an initial sigh of relief, but she was still standing right on the ledge, looking out over a long drop. I wasn't acrophobic, but realizing how far the drop would be, I felt overtaken by fear. Itsuki, you have to calm down. I clasped her hand firmly. Just a slight shift in her balance could cause her to fall. You should speak to her very calmly.
そうね。
Itsuki took in a deep breath and called out to her again.
お姉様。お姉様。そこは危ないです。まずはこちらを向いてください。
But Marika wouldn't turn around. If I tried to grab her hand, I'd probably just end up pushing her off the edge, so I would find anywhere was the wind. It was raining very hard, soaking my already sweat-drenched body even further. Time seemed to pass very slowly. It felt like hours before Marika spoke, though in reality it had likely only been a few seconds.
私わからなくなってしまって。え？何が正しいの？正しいことと何なの？
The rain was still falling hard, but the noise wasn't intrusive. Perhaps because there was so little nearby for it to strike. So even amidst the falling sheets of rain, Marika's softly spoken words still reached us.
私はかつてそれを知っているつもりでした。だから何を疑うこともなく振る舞ってラトゥトゥスールの立場となって私は何も迷うこともなく正しいことを実践している。そう信じて疑うことがありませんでした。なのに今回私 します。大事なことは誤りを誤りと認めて正していくことだと思います。時には自分を見失うことだってあるはずです。そんな時こそ周りが手を差し伸べなければならないのに、私はただ見ているだけでした。苦悩に気がついていたのに、私は何もすることができず、これではシェフ・ド・コールの一命が泣きますね。そんなことお姉様、聞いてください。私もさっき自分の誤りに気がついたんです。ということ、リセさんのことです。私は誤った気持ちから彼女を遠ざけ、自分からも離れていったのだということを知りました。誤りを知って正して、私はとても晴れやかな気持ちになりました。お願いです。あなたがきっと正しいのでしょう。
Empowered by her words, Misaki took a step forward. She stopped suddenly, the rain dripping down her body.
私はずっと信じていたのです。まるで裏切られた気分です。それともこれは予備を見舞ったような神の試練なのでしょうか。そうであればまだ救いもあるのです。いいえ、マリカ様。
At the carrying bell rang, Rai spoke for the first time.
マリカ様の正しさを保証していたのは神ではないはずです。こう言っては失礼ですが、私はずっと不思議だったんです。マリカ様の確信は一体どこから来るのだろうって。結果的に正しいか正しくないかはこの際二の次だと思います。問題なのは迷わないこと。なぜって私たちは迷うことの方がむしろ自然のはずだからです。迷うことの方がむしろ自然。ええ、なぜでしょう。だってそういう年頃ですもの。そうではありませんか、マリカ様。
Rai spoke with a smile in her voice. Gradually, a smile began to break through Marika's expression, too.
それもそうでした。リセの言う通りです。私はそんな自明のことも忘れてしまっていました。いつからか私は正しくあることを自らのノリとしてきました。そして私をずっと導いてきてくれたのは祖母だったのです。確信はそういうことだったのですね。ええ、今回のこともおばあ様の指示で。
Rai's breath of faint, I knew it. Ah, that's right. Marika's grandmother was a business advisor or something like that.
ずっと信じてきたのに、道しるべを失ったことが悲しいのではありません。私のこれまでは何だったのか。それを見失ってしまったことが悲しくて。
Marika, believing that everything she had trusted in for over 10 years had been a lie, now stood at the precipice between life and death. A strong wind blew. A grimace's warm droplets ran through themselves into my eyes.
そんな風に言わないでください、お姉様。
Misaki cried
たっ
out.
た一度きりの失敗で全てを否定するのはやめてください。やり直しはできるはずなんです。え、そうでしょ、リセさん。そうだわ。マリカ様は多分一つ忘れていることがあると思います。何かしら。おばあ様もまた人に過ぎない ということです。マリカ様がこれまで正しくもあれば間違ってもいたように、そうした事情はおばあ様だってきっと。だから今すぐ決着をつけようとすることだけはやめてください、マリカ様。お願いです。
Her voice was so gentle, the tension that had tightened in my chest began to loosen into relief. I feel like crying. At last, Marika turned back to us. Her expression was bright and cheerful, and her eyes were actually normal again. Just then, there was a powerful gust of wind. It was only then that we remembered that we were at great height in an unfenced area. We had no way of standing against that wind. In addition, Marika, just near the edge, her beautiful hair spread her head out like a fan. It almost seemed to drag her back, causing her body to tilt over the ledge. I felt like I could still make it. She was close. Even if Marika had lost her balance, she wouldn't fall immediately. I could still make it, or so I thought. I slipped on the wet floor for a moment. My entire body seethed and then went cold. I struggled upright with all of my might and began staggering forward. But even my greatest efforts were in vain. I swam through the air. Whoa! I stretched out my arm as far as I could. But then Marika was already falling. I managed to grab onto her just barely, but the crisis wasn't over yet. I can't stop. Thanks to the momentum of her fall and the wet floor, my body was continuing to slide. I slid out my hips, and the distant ground below came into view. I'm going to fall. Closed my eyes tightly. There was nothing to grab onto and no way to get back onto my feet. And yet, despite half my body leaning over the edge, I stopped. The girls were grabbing onto my legs. You think you can pull me back up? I managed to ring out the words, but it sounded like they were at their limits already. With this epic music going on in the background. What could we do? There was no way anyone was going to find us here on a clock tower on a rainy night. Calling out wouldn't work either. Our voices wouldn't travel 10 meters in this heavy rain. What do we do? What do we do? Think, damn it! Not a chance. Like you said before, you still got a lot of learning to do about righteousness, right? I don't want to die. But you don't want to die either, right? Isn't that right, Marika? I want to hear what you have to say, Marika. Who cares what God, your grandma, or anyone else says? What's important is what you have to say. Isn't that right? I raised my voice, giving her hand a squeeze, trying to communicate my wish with her, that she would understand me. Listen to me, Marika. Right, that's all I need to power me through. Despite the situation we were in, we exchanged a smile. Hey, can you get that phone working? Ugh. My body moved forward 5 centimeters, then stopped. I almost had a heart attack. Marika had one hand free. All we could do was pray that she didn't drop it. Just then, Marika received a phone call. It caused her and to tremble. My fear became real. The cell phone, our lifeline, dropped and stopped in midair. The strap caught on her pinky finger. That voice, was that her grandmother? Looked into my eyes uncertain. Of course, we both knew what we had to get help as soon as possible, but in order to do that, we had to hang up on her immediately and call someone else. Right now, this call was important to Marika's relationship with her grandmother. With that thought in mind, I met Marika's eyes and nodded. I think that you should tell her. This is where and I know she doesn't say it, but I feel like it's in a way of fuck you. Well, see, because of your antics, actions, and suggestions and advice, she almost committed suicide. That's the thing. Beep. The call cut off. This time, Marika manipulated the button skillfully and called the school for help. And so we were saved just in the nick of time. A lecture was waiting for us afterwards, but Marika's presence there meant that we weren't interrogated too closely. As the two girls about the headmistress looked at them with a troubled expression. I'm sorry. Rise is pissed. Two of us bowed hesitantly, though Rise couldn't hide her dissatisfaction, and the headmistress let out a sigh. That's right, we had been summoned to the headmistress' office still soaked wet. Not even the presence of Marika and Mitsuki had softened her enough to let us change first. Right. I couldn't believe the headmistress was being nice to me. I blinked for a few seconds, then in confusion. Maybe she was a nice person? Feel kind of bad for getting the wrong idea about her? Then this happened. And there went that theory. Rice snapped the words out quickly. Now she snaps it. Next part.